Welcome to SciCan's G4 installation video. In the next few minutes, we will walk you through the installation process of the unit. Before we get started, it's important to know and remember everything behind the new touchscreen is the same as previous models. Same parts, error codes, and cycles. What is different is the way the G4 connects to your office network, internet, and the possibilities that gives you and your client. Easy online cycle data access, off-site data storage, remote troubleshooting and access if the client allows, free software upgrades if the client chooses, an online record of service history. You know how helpful previous cycle history can be in diagnosing issues. You and the client can now indicate where you would like previous cycle history to be stored, emailed, or viewed, be it all cycles or only cycle faults. For you, this means simplified troubleshooting because you now quickly and easily access the unit from wherever you are in the country, almost as if you were standing in front of the unit. We all know how important service history is to any device. In a few quick steps, the G4 allows you to enter your service log directly into the unit, so you and your colleagues always know the history of the unit. It can also email you and/or your client customized maintenance reminders. Finally, if the unit is installed and set up properly with your company's ID, the new G4 LCD will display custom product information directly from your head office. Be on the cutting edge of innovation and communication. Ensure the unit maximizes on its full potential by connecting to the office network and internet. To help you with any internet connection-based questions, you can call our dedicated networking hotline Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 1-800-635-5179 or send an email to support@scicansupport.com. All other unit-specific questions can always be handled at our usual contact numbers, 1-800-572-1211 in the US or 1-800-667-7733 in Canada. There is no other product alike in the market today. SciCan is proud to be the first to offer you technology like never seen before. Now let's take the next step and get this G4 connected.
Before we dive into the features of the G4 technology and how all the options work, we need to get a few things set up. Ensure that there is an Ethernet, Cat5 or 6 cable available in the sterilization area. Dental office logo. Doctor's contact information including email address. Create a new email address from Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, MSN, etc. We will talk more about where and how this email account will be used later, but this email will be your G4 unit's email. Determine who will be receiving emails from the G4 and which emails they will be receiving. Each email address can be designated to receive email for every cycle or only when there is a cycle fault. Set up your own SciCan account if you haven't done so already. This will be your portal to access any G4 units in the country, as long as the office gives you authorization. Now we're ready to set the G4 up. Setting up and using your G4 web portal. This web portal is the interface for all the G4 units on your network. Though it is online, it is protected by your firewall and not accessible to outside users. This is where you can see real-time cycle information and archive sterilization records. This is also where you define email addresses, save or print sterilization histories, log maintenance histories, and more. But first, you must connect the G4 to the network. Connecting to a network. The G4 has a 10-100 base T Ethernet port located at the back of the unit. To connect your G4 to a network using a router, follow these steps. Connect your network cable to the Ethernet port at the back of the unit. If your office uses a router, the router should automatically assign the unit an IP address. You will know the IP address has been assigned when the red X over the network icon disappears. In some circumstances, for example where you do not have a router, or when using Windows network sharing, you may need to assign a dedicated or static IP address. To assign a static IP address, contact your local network administrator. It is suggested you reserve the G4 MAC address in the router settings. In some cases, the G4 IP address may change if the G4 is powered off. Reserving the MAC address ensures the G4 retains the same IP address at all times. From the main screen, press the networking icon. The networking screen displays information about your unit's connectivity, including its IP address. Type the IP address displayed on the touchscreen into the address bar of any web browser to access your unit's web portal. When there is network activity, for example when sending email, the icon will turn green. Connection time will vary depending on your network speed, and making an initial connection may take longer. Connecting your G4 to a wireless network. We highly recommend that the G4 be connected via a direct Ethernet wire. Wireless should only be considered as a last resort. In the cases where the G4 cannot be connected by a hardwire, the G4 can be configured for wireless use by connecting the Ethernet port to an external wireless bridge access point. SciCan currently recommends the use of the D-Link DAP 1522 Extreme N-Duo wireless bridge. Contact your network administrator to learn more about setting up a wireless bridge. Testing your network. Now that the G4 is connected, let's test the network to make sure that there is communication between the networks. From the Setup page, click on the Tools tab. You will need to log in to access the screen. The password is SciCan. Click on the Test tab. From here, you can run a simple pass or fail test to check your network connectivity. The results will confirm whether you're accessing the internet, accessing a router, or whether your unit has a proper IP address. The last line in the feed will indicate if the network test passed or failed. In the case of a failed test, contact your network administrator. Using the status page. Now that we know the G4 is successfully connected to the internet, let's see how the G4 makes it easy for offices to view and save cycle records. The status page is where you can see exactly what your unit is doing at that exact moment. When your unit is in operation, a graph depicting the different stages of your current cycle will be displayed in real time. If the unit is idle, the page will say no cycle is running. Using the Archives page. The Archives page is where you can access any cycle the unit has ever run. It is your internal data logger. Select in the year, month, and day in the drop-down menu to view the cycle records. You can browse sequential records by clicking on the left or right buttons. To print the record, select the Print Preview button and then click Print. You can also email specific records to individuals specified in the notification screen, which we will talk about later. The unit is also equipped with a USB port, so you can copy all the data onto the USB, included with each unit, and download all the files onto your computer. The unit will only copy new records onto the USB key, so if multiple USBs are used, the user may have fragmented data records across various USBs. To avoid any confusion, it is recommended to leave the USB in the unit and replace immediately after copying files onto a computer. Setting up your contacts page. Now it's time to start customizing the unit to the dental office. The contacts page is the dental office profile, where location and contact information are inputted. Click on the Setup page and go to the Contacts tab. If you haven't already logged in, you will be prompted for a password. The default password is SciCan, which can be changed if the office chooses. Fill in fields such as office name, office phone, address, and email. Input your name, phone number, and email under the dealer section. If your headquarters has subscribed, you can input your dealer ID number in this field. This allows your head office to send product information directly to end users via the G4 touchscreen. Contact SciCan customer service for your dealer ID number. You can also add the sales representative's information under the sales representative section. Before we started, we asked you to get the dental office logo. This is where you upload it. The logo will appear in the web portal and also on any printouts. The upload will accept any image file formats and will automatically resize to fit. Please read and review SciCan's privacy statement with the dental office. Refer to SciCan's website if you cannot access the statement through the web portal. To accept the statement, check the box. Your unit cannot send any emails if the box is unchecked. Setting up your LAN page. The local area network, or LAN page, is where you tell the G4 how to connect to the internet. In most cases, the router will automatically assign an IP to the G4, which means you should leave the automatic IP box checked. In some cases, you will need to manually define the various network addresses. If you uncheck the box, the fields will open, allowing you to modify as needed. Please consult with the network administrator for additional support. If you've made any changes, you must click Save for your changes to take effect. The device name can be modified to be an identifier for that specific unit. For example, statim_north-west. It is important to note that the name must not have any spaces. Hyphens or underscores can be used as space holders. The device name will be applied on the home page as well. In offices that have multiple G4 units on the network, this makes it easier to identify each unit individually. Setting up your unit's email. Your G4 can send email to you or anyone you'd like. However, it needs an email account to send from. Before we started, we had created an email account. This is where you input that information. From the Setup page, go to the Remote tab. From the drop-down menu, select the email server where you created the email address. The fields automatically populate accordingly. If the office wants to use an email account from their own provider, then you will need to contact their network administrator. Type the username and passwords into their respective fields. The username must be the entire email address and not just the alias. For example, drsmithstatim@gmail.com, and not just drsmithstatim. Click the test button to verify your settings. You must have at least one email recipient defined, such as the email from the contacts page. It is important to run this test to ensure that the email configuration has been set up properly. Setting up who will receive email notifications. This is where you tell your G4 who should receive emails and which emails they will receive. You can decide if the recipient will receive an email every time the unit runs a cycle or only when there is a cycle fault. From the Setup page, go to the Notifications tab. Enter the email addresses that were defined before we started. For each address, you can check the CF checkbox for cycle fault only or all for all cycles. It would be a good idea to use the G4 email address that was previously created and used in the Remote tab as one of the recipients who receives all emails. This then would be an off-site storage of all cycles in the inbox, accessible anytime it is needed. The message box lets you add details which will append to all the emails sent. Enable end of sterilization notification to receive email alerts before the air drying phase begins. Emails will only be sent to those selected to receive all emails in Step 2. Enable maintenance notification to receive email reminders of upcoming scheduled maintenance. Determine time frame by number of cycles or number of months. Emails will be sent based on whichever comes first to those selected to receive CF emails in Step 2. Reset Maintenance button must be clicked for any changes in maintenance notification intervals to take effect. If you're not receiving emails from your unit, check your spam filter to be certain your G4 unit has been identified as an accepted email source. Time zone and internet synchronization. Your G4 unit is capable of automatically detecting the time based on your time zone, just like your computer. To do this, from the Setup page, use the Time tab and click on the drop-down menu to select your time zone. Make sure the box is checked if you want your unit to synchronize automatically with dedicated internet time servers. It will then automatically update the time and date of your unit whenever it is connected to your network. Your unit must be connected to the internet to benefit from this feature. Review the Test Your Network section to ensure your G4 is properly connected. If you prefer to use the manual setup, you can select the date from the calendar and manually input the time accordingly. If you set your time manually and then decide to use the automatic time synchronization, it will override all of your manual changes. You can turn DST on or off to adjust to daylight savings time. This needs to be manually enabled or disabled in both automatic and manual time setup. Setting up your password. You can change the password used to access your Setup tab. This will help keep unauthorized users from changing the configurations you have made on your web portal, as well as in the contacts information your G4 uses to generate forms. From the Setup page, go to the Password tab. Note that the default username and password is SciCan. However, you can only change the password. Enter and confirm your new password. Click Save to enable the changes. It's important to keep the password accessible as it is not saved or retrievable through the unit backup. Setting up a backup. You can create a backup file which saves all of the configurations you have done in the G4 unit. This is useful for offices that have multiple G4 units, saving you time from retyping all the information and resetting all the configurations. From the Setup page, use the Backup tab and click Download Settings to create a backup file. This file contains all the configured changes such as time zone and LAN settings. It also saves all type fields such as your contact information and email addresses for your G4 notifications. Use the Save As function on your computer to choose a specific location. Otherwise, it will load the file in a default location preset by your browser. For security reasons, all passwords will not be saved, including your setup password, if that was changed in the Password tab, and your G4's email password that was set in the Remote tab. Neither service logs nor cycle data will be backed up in this file. If you have another G4 unit, you can pre-populate all the change settings and fields by uploading the backup file. To restore settings, click Choose File and browse for the file on your computer. Select it and click Restore. You will still need to go in and input the G4 email password in the Remote tab and reconfigure the setup password if it was changed. Using Tools. The Tools tab is where you can access the unit locally or remotely and where the service logs reside. Accessing the unit locally means you can take control of the G4 within the office network. Your device is on the same network as the G4. Accessing the unit remotely means you can take control of the G4 from anywhere in the country. Your device is on a different network from the G4. You can also view and add to the unit service logs through this menu. To gain control of the unit from inside the office network, from the Tools page, click on the Local Control tab. Click on the Start button to start a local connection within the office network. It will open up a page or tab that mirrors your unit's touchscreen. So from your web-enabled device, you can click on the icons as if you were physically pushing the buttons on the touchscreen. To gain remote access of the unit from outside the office network, click on the Remote Access tab. From here, the end user can grant you access to their G4 unit, regardless of where you are. Once they click Enable, the server will generate a unique token that you will need to gain access to the unit. You can also generate a token directly from the touchscreen by going into the Information, User menu, Remote Access, and Enable. You will need to go to the following URL, updates.scican.com, and log in with your email and password that was created at the start of the training session. Once you have logged in, type in the token. Upon authentication, a page will open that will mirror your G4's web portal. You can view the current status of the unit, previous cycle records, and even take control of the unit as if you were standing in front of it. To do this, you click on Tools, Local Control, and then Start. Each remote access session will only last for 2 hours. If more time is needed, a new token will need to be generated. Also, if the token is not used within the 2 hours, it will expire, and a new token will need to be generated to access the unit. To view or add to the service log, click on the Service Log tab. New service entries can be added by selecting the date in the calendar and writing a brief description in the text box. Click Add New Entry and it will append as the top entry in the service log. You can scroll through the service log to see a history of all the maintenance done on the unit. You can email this information to all registered emails by clicking on Email Service Log. To change the email list, go to the Notifications tab.